After 40, 50, or even 60 years together, why do so many couples decide to separate when they reach their 70s? You've heard about gray divorce, that growing phenomenon of marriages ending in the later stages of life. But what few people know are the real reasons behind these late separations. In this video, we're going to reveal the disturbing truth that many older couples face when the clock moves forward and life changes. Imagine this. You've shared an entire lifetime with someone, raised children, overcome difficulties, and built a home together. Once retirement arrives, you should be enjoying those golden years you've been waiting for. However, something changes. Instead of peace and companionship, you find tension, distance, and in many cases, a deep feeling that you no longer know the person who sleeps beside you each night. What we're seeing isn't just a statistical trend. It's an alarming sign of how aging transforms not only our bodies, but also our most intimate relationships. In this video, we'll explore the 5 main reasons why marriages fall apart after 70, signs you should recognize, and most importantly, what you can do to avoid becoming another statistic. Stay with us until the end, because the last reason is something most couples never discuss until it's too late, and it could be the key to saving your marriage when you need it most. Now let's begin. Reason 1. Retirement redefines identity and power dynamics. The first and perhaps most shocking reason why marriages break down after 70 is directly related to retirement. For decades, many couples have organized their lives around their careers and work responsibilities. He leaves early, she manages the house, or both follow professional paths that give them purpose, identity, and personal space. But when retirement arrives, everything suddenly changes. Margaret and Robert are a perfect example. After 47 years of marriage, they seemed to have everything figured out. Robert had been a doctor for 40 years, respected in his community, and always busy. Margaret had been a teacher and later dedicated herself to local charity work. Each had their space, their routine, their purpose. When both retired, within the span of a year, they suddenly found themselves sharing space 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. "I never thought I could feel like a stranger in my own home," Margaret confessed. "Suddenly, Robert wanted to have a say in how I organized the kitchen, what time I prepared meals, even how I folded the laundry, tasks that I had done my way for decades." What Margaret was experiencing is what therapists call retirement syndrome. When a person, especially someone accustomed to having authority or independence, loses their professional role, they often try to regain that sense of control at home. This can manifest as critical behavior, micromanagement, or even attempts to reorganize domestic routines that have worked perfectly for years. For women who have managed the household for decades, this sudden invasion of their territory can feel suffocating. For men who have based their identity on their career, the loss of purpose can translate into depression, irritability, and a feeling of uselessness that deeply affects the marriage. Recent studies show that couples who don't discuss and plan how their dynamics will be during retirement are 40% more likely to experience serious marital conflicts in the first 2 years of this new stage. Retirement isn't just about stopping work. It's a complete reorganization of daily life and the roles that have defined the relationship for decades. So, what can you do? Before retiring, it's essential to have clear conversations about expectations, personal spaces, and new routines. Some successful couples establish zones in the home where each has primary authority, or create schedules that allow personal time for each. Don't assume it will simply flow naturally. It needs intentional planning. Reason 2, the revelation of the empty marriage. The second reason why so many marriages fall apart after 70 is perhaps the most painful: the discovery of the empty marriage. For years, many couples have maintained their relationships centered on shared responsibilities, raising children, maintaining a home, advancing professionally. When these responsibilities disappear and the children have their own lives, some couples make a devastating discovery. They no longer have anything in common. Carlos and Elena were married for 52 years before separating at 75. "We were always busy," Elena explains. "Between our 3 children, their activities, our jobs, and caring for our parents as they aged. We never had time to think about whether we really enjoyed each other's company. When all that ended and we looked at each other across the breakfast table, I realized we were sharing space with a stranger. It's a phenomenon that psychologists have observed for decades, but which is now reaching epidemic proportions in the baby boomer generation. Couples who have been together since their 20s or 30s discover they've become completely different people over the decades, with values, interests, and desires that no longer align. What makes this phenomenon particularly prominent after 70 is the new demographic reality. Unlike previous generations, today's older adults can expect to live 15, 20, or even 30 more years after retirement. The prospect of spending 3 decades with someone with whom you no longer share a meaningful connection can be unbearable, especially when time becomes more valuable. A recent study from the University of California found that 60% of gray divorces cited lack of emotional connection as the main reason, above infidelity, financial problems, or family conflicts. This represents a significant shift from previous generations, which often remained in unsatisfying marriages for practical or social reasons. The good news is that this problem can be prevented. Couples who invest in their emotional connection over the years, who cultivate shared interests, and who regularly communicate about their changing values and goals are much more likely to rediscover each other in later years. It's not enough to survive the child-rearing years together. It's necessary to keep getting to know each other as both evolve as individuals. If you're watching this video and finding it valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Reason 3, health changes transform marital dynamics. The third reason why many marriages break down after 70 is related to something we all face: health changes. As we age, our bodies change, and frequently, health problems arise that can profoundly alter the dynamics of a relationship. Think about David and Martha, married for 49 years. Their marriage had always been active. They traveled, danced, enjoyed long walks, and had a satisfying, intimate life. At 73, David suffered a stroke that, although not devastating, significantly limited his mobility and affected his ability to communicate clearly. Within months, Martha went from being a wife to being a primary caregiver, a transition that neither had anticipated or prepared for. "I promised in sickness and in health," says Martha, "but I didn't understand what it really meant." It's not just the physical burden of helping him, it's seeing how our relationship changes. We're no longer partners in the same sense. The conversations we used to enjoy, the activities we shared, all of that has changed. What Martha describes is a common phenomenon: caregiver burnout. Studies show that when a spouse becomes the primary caregiver for the other, they experience significantly higher levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. This sustained stress can erode even the strongest marital bonds, especially when it extends over years. But it's not just about the stress of caregiving. Health problems also affect intimate aspects of marriage. Conditions such as diabetes, heart disease, or medication side effects can impact sexual life, an important component of connection in many marriages. The loss of this physical intimacy, combined with the transition of roles from partner to caregiver patient, can make both spouses feel they've lost an essential part of their relationship. What makes this problem particularly challenging after 70 is that many couples have never openly talked about these scenarios. They've discussed their finances, their wills, and testaments, but rarely address how they would handle significant health changes or what care options they would prefer if one of them can no longer function independently. Couples who survive and thrive despite health challenges are those who plan ahead. This includes openly discussing care preferences before the need arises, considering options such as professional caregivers to relieve the spouse's burden, maintaining other aspects of the relationship that don't depend on physical health, seeking emotional support through support groups or therapy, adapting shared activities to new capabilities, rather than abandoning them completely. The reality is that almost all couples will face some type of significant health challenge if they live long enough. The difference between those who thrive and those who fall apart often lies in how they prepare for these changes and how they maintain their connection despite them. Reason 4, the awakening of what remained unfulfilled. As we reach our 70s, something remarkable happens in human psychology. We begin to look back on our lives and evaluate the decisions we made, the paths we followed, and most importantly, the dreams we abandoned. This fourth reason why marriages break down after 70 has to do with what psychologists call life review and the awakening of unfulfilled aspirations. Ana and Javier were married for 46 years. Throughout their marriage, Ana had always dreamed of traveling through Europe, exploring different cultures, and perhaps even living abroad for a while. Javier, on the other hand, was always more of a homebody, preferring security and routine. For decades, Ana postponed her dreams for the sake of family stability and Javier's comfort. When they turned 70, with good health, adequate financial resources, and no responsibilities, Ana experienced what can only be described as an existential crisis. I realized that I had maybe 10 or 15 more years of good health, she explains. Was I going to give up my dreams forever, or was it now or never? What Ana experienced is incredibly common. As people enter the final phase of life, they often feel a renewed urgency to fulfill long-postponed aspirations. Psychologist Erik Erikson called it the crisis of integrity versus despair, the need to feel that you've lived authentically and fulfilled your personal ambitions. Recent research shows that up to 68% of older adults report significant regrets about roads not taken. And when these regrets involve decisions influenced by a spouse, resentments that have been dormant for decades can emerge. I always blamed Javier for not fulfilling my dreams, Ana admits, but the truth is that I chose to stay. I never really expressed how important those dreams were to me. I just assumed he should know and felt resentful when he didn't. What makes this dynamic particularly powerful after 70 is the growing awareness of mortality. The prospect of having one last chance to live authentically can make couples who have been together for decades reconsider whether their marriage supports or hinders their final personal aspirations. This phenomenon doesn't just affect women. Many men who dedicated decades to demanding careers or roles as family providers may wake up one day wondering what happened to their artistic passions, dreams of adventure, or desires to contribute meaningfully to causes they care about. Couples who successfully navigate this phase are those who recognize and respect each other's unfulfilled dreams, even belatedly. Seek creative compromises that allow for individual growth within the marriage. Avoid blaming each other for decisions that were ultimately shared. Give each other permission to evolve, even in the later stages of life. The lesson here is powerful. It's never too late to be honest about your deepest desires, nor to support your partner in fulfilling theirs. Sometimes this awakening can revitalize a marriage. Other times, it can reveal fundamental incompatibilities that can no longer be ignored. If you're watching this video and finding it valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move on to the 5th reason. Reason 5, the silent impact of financial secrets. The 5th and perhaps most disturbing reason why marriages break down after 70 is related to something many couples never openly discuss: financial secrets. After decades together, some spouses discover financial truths that have been hidden in plain sight, revelations that can shatter trust and completely alter the security of the golden years. Teresa and Miguel had been married for 51 years when she discovered something devastating. Miguel, who had always handled the family finances, had been hiding serious financial problems. What Teresa thought was a comfortable nest egg for retirement turned out to be much less than they would need to maintain themselves during their remaining years. "I always trusted him," Teresa says with a trembling voice. "I never questioned when he told me everything was fine." Discovering at 75 that I would have to sell our house and completely change our lifestyle wasn't just a financial shock, it was a betrayal of decades of trust. What Teresa experienced is alarmingly common. A recent study by Fidelity Investments found that 43% of married Americans don't know how much their spouse earns, and more than 30% have different perceptions about their financial situation for retirement. These discrepancies often come to light when couples begin to concretely plan how they will live on fixed incomes, or when they need to access savings for medical care. Financial secrets can take many forms: hidden debts accumulated over the years, risky investments that resulted in significant losses, financial aid to children or relatives without the other spouse's knowledge, excessive spending on hobbies, vices, or even extramarital relationships, unrealistic expectations about retirement income. What makes these secrets particularly devastating after 70 is the lack of time to recover. When you're young and discover a financial problem, you potentially have decades to readjust your course. At 70, options are much more limited. Jobs are harder to find, the ability to generate new income diminishes, and the time to rebuild savings simply doesn't exist. "I never imagined I would be looking for work at 76, says Miguel, but the shame of admitting our financial problems led me to hide them until it was too late to properly solve them. Now Teresa barely speaks to me. 50 years of marriage destroyed because I couldn't be honest about our finances." Senior finance experts point out that this problem is becoming increasingly common as people live longer with limited resources. The current generation of septuagenarians faces unique challenges. Many don't have guaranteed pensions like their parents, have lived through times of economic volatility, and are experiencing significantly higher medical costs than they had anticipated. Couples who avoid this fate take proactive measures, hold regular financial meetings where both fully participate, maintain transparent accounts where both have access and visibility, consult together with financial advisors who can offer objective perspectives, openly discuss their biggest financial fears, and plan accordingly. Ensure that both completely understand their financial situation. The lesson is clear. Financial transparency is not just a sensible accounting practice, it's a fundamental form of care and respect in a lasting marriage. Financial secrets rarely remain hidden forever, and when they come to light in the later stages of life, they can destroy decades of trust in an instant. Throughout this video, we've examined 5 disturbing reasons why marriages break down after 70, the redefinition of roles after retirement, the discovery of the empty marriage, health changes that transform marital dynamics, the awakening of unfulfilled aspirations, and the devastating impact of financial secrets. These reasons may seem discouraging, but there is a hopeful truth we must recognize. Knowledge is power. By understanding these challenges, couples can take proactive measures to address them before they become crises. Marriages that thrive after 70 are not necessarily those that have avoided all these challenges. They are those that have developed resilience, open communication, and the willingness to adapt and grow together, even in the later stages of life. As Elena said, who managed to rebuild her relationship with Carlos. After nearly separating, we discovered that we had to choose each other again, not based on who we were 50 years ago, but on who we are now. It was like meeting a new person, but with the comfort of a shared history. If you find yourself facing any of these challenges, remember, it's never too late for honesty. Many couples discover that finally talking about uncomfortable truths, even after decades, can be liberating and rejuvenating. Seek professional help. Marriage counselors specialized in older adult relationships can offer perspectives and tools specific to this stage of life. Redefine marital success. Perhaps your relationship doesn't look like what it was when you were 40, but it can evolve into something equally meaningful if both are willing to adapt. Prioritize kindness. As we face health, financial, and emotional challenges, mutual patience and compassion become more important than ever. Recognize that the choice remains yours. Even after 50 years together, each day you continue to choose to be in your marriage. This awareness can be both liberating and motivating. Gray divorce may be a growing trend, but it's not inevitable. With understanding, communication, and renewed commitment, many couples discover that the years after 70 can offer a depth of connection they hadn't experienced before. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.